Hey folks, as I mentioned in my update a couple weeks ago, we kind of are going through some changing needs that are forcing us to reevaluate some of the things that we need for RVing. We entered into this season thinking that we could be pretty prepared with the current RV that we have, or the camper that we have, and be able to set it up in a way that can make it work for Jackson. I think, as usual, when you go through kind of a life stage change, you can do as much as you can to anticipate it, but you can never really truly predict it. The issues that we ran into were basically two or threefold. First is that with a hybrid trailer, our beds are not inside the shell of the unit. They are actually fold-out platforms and tented. Last year, when it was just me and Michelle and the pets, it worked out pretty well because we took the back bunk, which was a bit more private. When I got up, I was able to create some distance between me and Michelle because she sleeps in later than I do, so that it doesn't really bother her, whether or not it's light or sound or what have you. With Jackson here, this year we put Jackson in that back bunk, once again for more privacy, so that he's not easily disturbed by the sounds that are going on across the other parts of the trailer. By and large, he slept through that pretty well. Conversely, Michelle and I took the front fold out, which actually was the bigger fold out, but because it's so close to all the main parts of the RV, when I got up, if I made any movement, she felt it, whatever. If the dogs were walking around, she heard it, all that good stuff. And so it just became something that was really disturbing her rest. The second is, when we put Jackson in the back fold out, he did well. Like he when you put him down for naps, he slept as much as he's willing to sleep. When we put him down for the night, he'll sleep through the night, no problem. But I think there are two things that were really giving us a lot of anxiety underneath, and that's all related to just weather. First is, we had to do a lot of thinking around how to manage the temperature inside that tent. For us as adults, if at night it gets down to 50, 60 degrees, we're actively managing our body temperature. We know how to deal with it, and that's great. With Jackson, he's not at that point, and so we had to be the one that's constantly monitoring temperature. So when it got cool, we were trying to put space heaters on him, and so on and so forth, just to keep his area warmer, because theoretically it's outside of the RV, even if we were running heat. Eventually, we did kind of solve for that with the Dometic key strip. That thing worked really well. It got the rig nice and toasty when we needed it to be, and that's a nice $70 pretty well spent. If you don't want to use your propane and you have access to some shore power, especially if you're at a campground and you don't need to use your propane, that heat strip worked out really well. But the other thing about Jackson being in that space is sound. Again, if you're an adult and you're going camping, part of the appeal for us was that we get kind of the nature sounds of the outside too, even as we're sleeping, and that was a little nice thing to have. But the reverse of that is when bad weather comes along. Already this season, we've experienced a hailstorm. In St. Louis, we sat through a tornado watch. In Wisconsin, there was a line of stores that came in for roughly 2 to 3 hours. This was when, after we put Jackson down for the night. Somehow he did not wake up, but having to manage his situation in that back fold out just kind of created a lot of underlying anxiety. And also, Michelle always was trying to keep it quiet, so we're whispering to each other when he's sleeping, because there really is no hard separation between the fold out in the back and the rest of the area. So that, combined with crappy weather, combined with our dogs having nowhere to go, we were all stuck inside. We were trying to keep everybody quiet whenever he's napping, and that just made for a really uncomfortable situation. And we were talking as we came back from that trip, and we were like, that's really not how we want our experience to be. And so what can we do to really put us in a position to to enjoy it more, even with the rain, even with under the circumstances that we're in. And so those were the two two main criteria. One is we needed a separate space for Jackson. Two, we needed a separate space for Michelle, or for me and Michelle, so that when I wake up and things are happening elsewhere within the RV, she has enough separation to not be disturbed. Same thing with Jackson. When I'm doing things and when we're doing things and he is napping or he's down for the night, there's enough sound separation so that he's not disturbed. And then third is just to make sure we have enough space so that we can spread out when we need to, when we're stuck inside in bad weather situations, so that when we have the two dogs, when we have the cat with us, everyone's got space to move around and we're not just all like cooped up in one place. We were off on a hunt to find a floor plan that could work for us. We knew that whatever this floor plan is was gonna weigh probably a lot more than the Jayco that we have right now, and so we're anticipating an upgrade for our vehicle too. So we're trying to get everything ready by the time we go to Michigan at the end of August, and so this is gonna be pretty quick moving, pretty fast moving, and hopefully it'll work out for us or work better for us and give us something to continue to build off of. So when it comes to floor plans that can give us what we need, we naturally started looking at bunkhouses, because we needed some space for Jackson by himself. We needed space for Michelle as well. When you think about bunkhouses, they're generally like three major versions of implementations. First is a fairly rudimentary, like single, maybe 2 levels of a single size bunk. We actually rented one of those in a wolf pup when we went our first time RVing a couple years ago. We had the dogs with us, we had Michelle's mom with us, so it was 3 people and 2 pets in that little wolf pup, and back then we felt it was a little cramped. The second way that we see it is in the double over double type of implementation. It's probably the most prevalent implementations of bunks. There's a third one that I'm going to show here. It's from Grand Design. The Transcend has it, where it's the double over double bunks. It's behind a fold out couch, and then it's kind of adjacent to the dinette. And then the fourth implementation, which is a category of implementation, are just your bunkhouses, and they can be configured in so many different ways, but usually they are good for at least if you have 2 kids and 2 or more, or because they are at least like 2 bunks, 3, maybe sleep up to 4, and by then like those trailers just start to get a bit long, and then they start to get really heavy. So amidst all those bunkhouse implementations, we were looking for something that's a bit more unique, and we actually found 2. First is a Grand Design 2910 BH, and then the second is the Keystone Outback 291 UBH. They're largely the same floor plan. The bunkhouse implementation is east to west, so across the width of the trailer, and there is a door, so it creates a separate room. It's what we wanted for Jackson, and then it also has a separate bedroom up front. So we narrowed in on those floor plans, and we're going to see if we can find some inventory in our area, because it sounds like inventory is pretty bleak right now. I'm pretty sure once we see those floor plans, there'll be a video to show some of the features that we really liked. Michelle kind of likes the Grand Design, I like the Keystone, so we're gonna have to figure out how to compromise on that. So until then, thanks for watching, and take care.